For this session, I wrote 85 words. I've been working on my second pass of edits today. The first pass was really to smooth out my voice, and this round is to calibrate the emphasis that is greater in the latter portion of my manuscript than it is in the former. It is interesting to see how much my writing has changed, and this is exactly what I wanted to account for in my process, the evolution of one's writing skills the more one writes. My emphasis is greater in the latter part of my manuscript because I'm at a point where I am taking far more risk in presenting my ideas than I did at the beginning. And though I am less than 22,000 words in, there is a dramatic difference. For this session, I wrote 105 words. For this session, I wrote 45 words.
I don't agree that you've not altered anything, Stavrogin observed cautiously. You accepted them with ardor, and in your ardor have transformed them unconsciously. The lot of cards today. I picked the 10 of Wands from the Romantic Tarot by Lo Scarabeo, Ocean, Ebb and Flow, Wise Leader, Creative Power from my I Ching deck, number 17, the Star from my Large Thoth deck, and then for my Giant Tarot, we've got the Queen of Swords and then the 8 of Swords. New additions to my library. I have acquired Morphology of the Folktale by V. Prop. And then I have my first Nietzsche book. This is a combo book of 2 of his works, Human, All Too Human, and Beyond Good and Evil. I never thought I would actually read Nietzsche. I never thought that my personal philosophy would take a direction in his corner. And it never occurred to me that when I abandoned religion, that left me only few options for which way my ideologies and philosophies would go. Because this shift happened for me on a personal level, I never really thought about it from an intellectual standpoint, and it kind of all occurred to me at once, where I realized that my perspectives are very much nihilist in some areas, although I would consider myself a more optimistic nihilist. Anyways, these labels ultimately don't matter, but having some idea of them can help direct one's focus and studies and curate interest. Other things I'm thinking about lately. Not too long ago, I think this was in November, my husband and I were listening to a podcast. I believe it was called Modern Wisdom. And the speaker on this particular episode was Jimmy Carr, a comedian based out of the UK, I believe. I have not stopped thinking about this one line he spoke about how we might, as a culture, equalize the imbalance between men and women, and that is to teach women to take more risk. I thought that was such an interesting strategy and something that I've not really heard before. And meditating on that, I've had a new idea to add to that, which is to also teach women that it's okay to not bear children. From what I've seen, there are many stories favoring the single mother or the woman who goes out and has kids on her own, freezes her eggs, gets a sperm donor, things like that. While that's also an awesome angle of female women's empowerment, I also feel like there is a lack of conversation around women who choose not to have kids. From what I have seen, I feel that there has largely been a bias favoring conversations around women having kids, whether there be a father figure or not. And I also feel that this bias is in place because of the lore and the myth behind the woman and her womb. But I also feel that just because one has a womb does not mean that it must be put to use, and that women can also be father figures as well. What that looks like, for example, is through adoption, rearing child, not necessarily bearing child. Exploring further the subject of risk, I do feel that there are many limited notions surrounding it. For example, risk does not necessarily mean reckless. There are measured and calculated ways one can take risk, and this is strategic risk. Risk need not be manipulative. It can also be honest and collaborative. I think also that there are ways to take risk using discretion. That would be tactful risk. Some developments on my contemplations on passion. It occurred to me to apply the axis of the four humors in considering passion. Passion is predominantly attributed to fire qualities, but there are dry and cold passions as well. That would give you a melancholic passion, and what that looks like is somebody who internalizes their fire. And while they might appear externally as expressionless and stoic, that doesn't mean they're passionless. Boredom, for example, is a form of melancholic passion. Moving on to the subject of writing and editing, I have made, as you saw in previous clips, another pass of edits, and I'm happy for now with where my edits stand, but I definitely will be making another comprehensive pass down the road. That is all that I have for this vlog. I'm gonna get to my writing session now, and then once I have that done, I will add the clip at the end of this video.
For this session, I wrote 52 words, and that is a wrap for this vlog.